Hi, it's Joanna Cook here from Joanna Cook Art. I'm going to show you a very good way of composing your drawing so that you don't have the problem of, as in this example, struggling with the size and proportions of your drawing, especially when you're scaling up or down from another reference source. So a very useful tool is called a scale divider. This is how to use a scale divider. These are available from art shops. This is one by Derwent. You can also use many other kinds of scale dividers, such as this old-fashioned brass one. The scale divider has a little brass knob that you slide up or down the track inside the blades, depending on how large you want your scale or your ratio to be. If the page that you're drawing on or your drawing is going to be much bigger or much smaller than your reference photo, you will slide the knob to the far end of the scale divider so that the difference between the blades is much greater on the one side than on the other. For this example, I'm going to be scaling up slightly from my reference photo. My drawing is going to be slightly bigger, so I put the knob in the middle of the scale divider, which allows the one side of the scale divider to be slightly bigger than the other side. The easiest way to decide how to set the ratio or scale of your divider, in other words, where to slide the little brass knob, is to take one side of your scale divider and measure the width of your reference, then flip the scale divider over and measure the width of the page that you're drawing on. You can do the same with the length, and in this case I'm checking the length of my reference photo against the length or height of the paper that I'm drawing on. You can see that the drawing paper is quite a lot higher than the reference photo, so I draw a line to indicate the top of my reference photo or where the lion's head would end. I won't necessarily cut my page off because I might want to have a little bit of space above the lion's head on my drawing. The hollow blades on the left of the brass knob will always be used on the reference, and the blades on the right of the knob where the Derwent sign is will be used on the drawing page. Using the reference side of my scale divider, I mark the distance between the top of the lion's head and the bottom of his mane, and mark the same place on my page. It's also a good idea to mark the distance between the edge of the page and the beginning of the picture, so you know where to start your drawing. I then measure the distance from the one side of the lion's mane to the other side, flip the scale divider over and mark the page where the mane ends. I'll also mark the distance between the end of the lion and the back of his rump. How tall is my lion going to be? I check that length or distance with the one side of the scale divider, and once again put a mark on my page to indicate where his body begins and ends, from the top of his rump to the bottom of his foot. The best way to make sure that my foot is in the right place is to measure the distance of the start of the foot from the edge of the page, the left-hand edge of the page of the reference, and flip the scale divider and indicate that on that place on my page. Same with the bottom of the page, measuring it from the outer edge of the page to the place where the foot starts. And that gives me an idea of how long to make the leg and exactly where the leg and body begin. I can do the same from the top edge of the page, measuring where the mane and the body meet, or where the body begins. And that just really helps me to get the main mark points before I start drawing my big shapes. I want to be sure that I get the forefeet in the right place, so I can once again measure their length, flip the scale divider around, and put marks on my page where the feet begin and end. A lot of the line I can draw freehand, but it's so much faster if you've got your indication points your markers of where the main features begin and end. You can see I've used the scale divider here to see where his mane ends by measuring the distance between the bottom of his chin and the end of the bottom of the mane. Measuring the distance between the two ears. Flip the scale divider around. Make sure that I've got the ears in the right place. Sometimes you can use a scale divider to check whether your eye is correct. Sometimes you draw freehand and then check your distance with the scale divider afterwards. It's very easy to miscalculate how big or exactly where something is placed by measuring the distance between the top of his face and the end of his nose. I make sure that I put his nose in exactly the right place. Checking the distance between the top of the nose and the bottom of the eyes. It takes a lot of time and practice to train your eye to see the distance between the elements in your drawing. So the scale divider really helps you to check your placement. It helps you make sure that you have the correct distance between your objects and that the lines are put in exactly the right place to begin with, so you don't spend a lot of time erasing the sections of your drawing that are in the wrong place. Once you've placed all the critical marks, then you can start with your more refined drawing.